Howdy. Well, it's been a very, very long time, but I wanted to do something casual. I've been so into, Phantom Strider videos lately and doing those and getting those right that I was like, let's just reach out to our closer community and do a commentary. So, hope you'll join me today and I'll do a bit of a commentary on the banned and controversial Lego sets and my thoughts on it. In case you're wondering what this strange phallic object is, it's not an ice cream, it is a blue Yeti that I have actually on a stand, because I've started my other phone, my microphone was like going when I was recording with it, so I had to start trying to use the blue Yeti. So there we go. And here we go, me doing the introduction. I had a lovely little backdrop there. Lego actually was sharing a whole bunch of backdrops on Twitter that we could use to Lego up our Skype meetings. Anyway, and Simpsons came first. So for quite a while, there was a fair bit of backlash on the Simpsons Lego sets. And obviously, though, that, money probably got in the way or something like that. But I think, as I mentioned in this, nowadays, Simpsons is very tame by comparison to something like Family Guy or Rick and Morty, or basically anything on Adult Swim. I mean, Mr. Pickles, for freak's sake. Like, there's so much stuff that is just so much more horrible in The Simpsons nowadays, if anything. I mean, it has some bad moments, that are pretty rough, but that being said, I still think it's a great program, and if a little bit boring nowadays and sometimes in some episodes. Still good episodes, though, as I said in my Worst and Best Modern Simpsons episode. I love that I was actually putting on the Nixon voice for some of this. I don't know why, but when I want to talk about big authorities, I tend to talk in a Nixon voice. Also, it was just so nice to have the feedback I got on this and just the great response I did, because this is essentially like my first time completely going out of animation, and the fact that it got a good response. Oh, geez, I never noticed. There's a kind of a green screen. I should have choked that green screen kind of around my shirt a bit more. Most people probably wouldn't notice. This is high quality, and I'm looking carefully for it. And your eyes kind of get trained for the green screen. So, yeah, and as we showed there, they did Lego Dimensions and had Simpsons in that, and I actually used some of the gameplay footage there because it was really, really good. So much of Lego Dimensions was good. It is such a shame it didn't do better. The Lego V Osprey is where I kind of go into the fact that, Lego has a policy pretty much from the start, which isn't really that surprising given it comes from Sweden, that, Denmark, I'm sorry, yeah. The fact that it comes from a Scandinavian country, that they're kind of against sort of having anything to do with military and that sort of thing in their Lego. They just try to keep their noses very, very clean. And, over the years, I think things like the Osprey, they've kind of dabbled into territory, because I'm actually talking about it in an upcoming video, but Lego gets so many requests for builds. They actually ask people to bring in their requests to know what people they want to make, and some get accepted, some get rejected, and between us, I'm actually thinking of making a video on that very soon. I want to talk about Lego more and talk about some of the Lego sets that were rejected, and I think it'll be a fun idea. It's kind of in the same vein as this video in sort of talking about banned and controversial stuff and on Lego, and I think it's such a fascinating field. It's one of those fields I go, ooh. I actually had the idea, this morning, and like a bolt of lightning. I was just, I know what I'm gonna do. And I even ended up calling Nin, my girlfriend, to say, and she listens to a lot of my ideas and stuff. Hey, look at how the automatic binding bricks look back in the day. Didn't they look old and weird? It's such an interesting trip with Lego because because we go back over 50 years with them, and it's so interesting to see them, how they've shifted and how the times have changed with them. Automatic binding bricks. Lego Jabba's Palace, I get a lot of comments on this one sort of from people saying, they're too sensitive and that sort of thing, and fair enough, it does seem a lot like nitpicking when I heard that, but I tried to, simply give a message here. Because this went kind of sort of viral, it hit 1 million views, which for me is viral. I got a lot of those more conservative comments from people outside the community, and we did get more, oh, people need to grow a thicker skin, how dare they, oh, Black Lives Matter was terrible, all this horrible stuff they said. The only one I kind of sort of agree with, though, is like, I feel like they were nitpicking a little bit with Jabba's palace, because like they're just remaking the palace, and I thought it was such a shame because it came from my country too, the Muslim group from my country, Australia, and I was like, oh, what a shame, because it sets a bad reputation for them. You know, it makes them sound like they're looking for trouble and stuff, and it's just like, I don't know. It's just Star Wars. It's just like, shouldn't they take it up with George Lucas? There's nothing against them. And obviously on this, because of this video and its subject matter, I will be talking in sort of my personal opinion on some of these things. But I don't know the situation, and I tried to stay completely just understanding and empathetic in that I don't know what it's like to be a Muslim person and that sort of thing. But shouldn't they take it up with George Lucas because they were the original creators of the material? So, you know, I don't know. Lego didn't really back down either. They wanted to make sure people knew, we're not getting rid of this. We were just taking it off the market because it was done. You know, they'd finished its run or something. So it was, I think Lego was very adamant on that. They were like, no, that we're not bowing to this or anything like that, saying, oh, no, you're right, it's offensive or anything like that. They were just like, no, it's done its run. So yeah, that I wanted to kind of get that controversial one out of the way, but that certainly caused a little bit of muttering in the comments, and fair enough. And I wanted to point out, you know, it was a small group of people, and I actually say that in a later video, that just remember, this is not culture, it's a group of people, because you got that sort of cancel culture stuff going around. It's like the word snowflake. It just automatically leads to people saying, grow a thicker skin, which is not a particularly intellectual or knowledgeable response when you hear that. It's just like, yeah, you know, did you hear that from South Park 15 years ago? Is that about all you can manage? But anyway, I'm not here to start a massive debate on that. I just think there is a more nuanced, intelligent response, surely, than grow a thicker skin. But anyway, yeah. And with that one, with the Lego truck, I can't believe they actually allowed that. Basically had that little spin metal wheel inside, but certainly hasn't happened again since, from my knowledge. This one is also really interesting because, yeah, it was about... It brings to life the fact that Lego has kind of had a relationship with Shell and petroleum for many years, because Lego is made of petrochemicals. So it was interesting to see this and the response to that. I'm certainly not... Interestingly, though, I did used to belong to Greenpeace when I was much younger. But I think I was about 15, between 15 and 19, I was a member of Greenpeace in Queensland, and we did go over, you know, things like this and that sort of thing. But most of what I was fighting for was climate action, when we were beginning to become aware of all the terrible problems that were with climate change. And so that was not, you know, oh no, you can't have foods that are grown via genetics, even though they save literal billion lives in countries that can't afford it. It's just, I kind of got out of the Green Revolution, me personally, and even though I respect a lot of the people in it, my main concern was actual scientist problems like climate change, stuff that has been shown to be a real problem. Here I wanted to try and encourage the fact that, hey, well, at least they've got some solar projects going there. Mr. Gold, yeah, Just Too Good's talked a lot about this one as well. The guy who I invited in on rarest Lego sets. Let me know if you'd like me to do a video commentary on that one too. But yeah, what is there to say about Mr. Gold? Well, yeah, I think it created just a massive problem in that, you know, it didn't bring out the best in people, in that, you know, they were... It's like if they actually made a golden ticket. The realistic situation... I mean, I actually don't tend to think that people would be that, you know, that desperate to get a golden ticket. When you look back on Willy Wonka, you're like, really? This many people around the world just desperately wanted to go to a chocolate factory? But, you know, when we're kids, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, but because of that massive demand for Mr. Gold, they ended up just making a whole bunch of replica ones. But I had some nice comments of people saying, I wanted a Mr. Gold so much, so my parents got me a replica. And I think that's a nice thing with the replicas and the cheap knockoffs, is that you can give it to a kid, and the smile on their face you could bring them for like $3 or $4 is freaking priceless. Who cares if it's not real? You just made their year. You know, if they're a big Lego fan and wanted a Mr. Gold, who cares if it's not real? So, I have mixed thoughts on, making replicas, because it can bring so much joy to people, and they shouldn't have been that exclusive to begin with. So I would actually argue, it's just balancing the playing field a bit with Mr. Gold. But yeah, I remember actually seeing, when I was researching Mr. Gold, looking at the prices, I was really just outraged. Oh, that was terrible what I did with the green screen there. I needed to... Sometimes the green screen cuts off my hair a little bit, and you probably see it, and it makes me cringe when I miss that. Because my team edits it, and occasionally they'll make a mistake and not use the green screen right, and I'll look over it and edit it and put it all together at the end. But after like a 20-minute video, after like 4 hours of editing, I'll just be like, ugh, and I'll miss it, and I'll be like, ah, and my OCD will go mad. Anyway, yeah, no one was happy what happened with Mr. Gold. Lego was not particularly pleased either, and I liked the fact that collectors said, this isn't the kind of behavior we want to be bringing out. And like everyone said, a lot of collectors just said, let's pretend this doesn't exist and just exclude it from our collection, because it was such a bad response. Did not bring out the best in humanity. And some people have commented here, like, this is a freaking house deposit. I know. I recently, have been in the house market, that $6,000 won't buy you a property. It is a house deposit. And even then, it's more like $10,000 to $20,000 in Australia anyway. The housing market, if you're going to pay $470,000 on average for a house, you're going to need about $20,000 at least. And even then, you'll still have a lot of interest to pay for not having enough deposit. Anyway, Lego Friends. This one was simply serving a market that was completely undernourished. You look at things like Twilight, there's obviously a market for a young female demographic. And the writing doesn't have to be good, and we can see that. And it's actually part of why I got to YouTube. This is going to sound terrible, but part of why I got into YouTube, a big part, was I saw that I'm always intimidated by seeing really good people, like really people who are really, really good at what they do. When I saw some of the garbage on YouTube in 2012, and there was still good stuff, but at the time when I was looking at cartoon reviews, there was garbage. And I was like, I can do better than that. That's how low the bar is. And here, where I'm coming back to, is I feel the bar was very low with some of the kids' toys. So Lego simply stepped in. And yeah, I don't really have an opinion on this one. I feel like it's a bit like the Barbie argument, but at the same time, like Barbie does have a lot of... she does different roles and different things, and I think to some people it's going to be liberating to see Barbie in all these different roles, Barbie scientist and Barbie so on and so forth. But to be fair, this actually did tend to put them more in roles that were kind of very girlish and that sort of thing. But Lego made the argument that, well, that's what girls are wanting to do. And I was like, well, I can't really argue with that is what they are tending to do as young children, some of these activities. And to be fair, none of it's bad. I mean, like, so what? Girls might like horses and animals, When I used to work at the equestrian, there was a lot... to be fair, there were still a lot of males, but there was a lot of women who sort of took that interest in the horses. So I don't know. I'm very much try to be a feminist myself and say whatever role you want to play in society, that's great. I mean, when I went to the Navy, there were certainly female recruits with me when I did my Navy basic training. And actually, one of them turned out to be one of my closest friends at the time. She went on to different places when I didn't, and we still kept in contact, and lovely people. But as all I was trying to say with that is different roles and different folks. Some girls are really into ponies and that sort of thing, and to be fair, they're gardening and stuff, It's like, there's no harm in that. I love the footage I used here. This is actually from Lego Worlds during the countdown. Yeah, I'm going to use that probably again, and I'm going to do a bit more Lego footage. It gives me an excuse to kind of play a stupid game for a bit. I certainly pulled out a lot more footage from other channels for some of these because some people, are really good at reviewing Lego and have them all over their house and that sort of thing. Rarest Lego set as well. I pulled out so much footage and have had to kind of change my editing style. I really love what my team did with this, though. Some of the editing styles they used here and the shifting of shots. We don't just have footage to look at here like of a SpongeBob episode. So yeah, massive hats off to my team there. They did an amazing job. With Hoth, sorry, I'll get more actually onto the topic of what's being discussed. This is the one I struggle with the most to talk about because I was like, what do I say? It's a bad set. It's not presented well. It's splattered all over the place. It's just, and that's why it was controversial. Ah, yes, and this probably has brought about the most controversy in the comments because I didn't realize there were so many people who sort of were against Black Lives Matter for some reason or something like that. And, think what you want of it. I just think it's understandable that the Lego people, to me, would pull out and say, well, this isn't really what we want to be doing right now. Like, this isn't what we want to be presenting because there's a lot of friction. I don't know, purely as, a businessman-y person myself, I can understand them not wanting to rub people the wrong way. But to be fair, would it have caused any problems, if there was just, Lego police sets? I don't know, but maybe it was more an act of them trying to show we have respect for the movement right now and their way of saying we respect what you're doing. And, as I say in here, more power to them if they do. But yeah, that certainly split a lot of people on that. And yeah, I never even realized there was a big argument against Black Lives Matter. I mean, people die, minorities die. We should probably say that's not right. We should say that's not right. But yes, but again, as a white dude, not really my place to make a comment on that. I personally don't want to. I certainly supported it though. Yes, and now we come to Katslon Blana. I was worried YouTube would flag me when I talked about this because it was just like, holy cow! I didn't even know. I was like, yeah, but it's Lego. Can I talk about Lego Holocaust? I don't know. But people were okay with it, and YouTube was okay with it. So there you go. I thought this would be the one of major controversy, but people didn't really give it much of a second thought. They were more worried about number 2 and 8. But anyway, yeah, this actually comes some of this footage from some very talented young stop motion creators on YouTube. Oh, did I link them in the description? I should have linked in the description. But yeah, this was really something. And originally, Lego did actually request him to take it down, and eventually they just effort and got rid of it. But I love the fact that it got showed in a museum. I don't really have an opinion because I couldn't decide on whether it does have value or not. I see it and I shudder because it does. You've got moments of your childhood connected with one of the most traumatic, horrifying events in history, if not that created the United Nations. It was so bad. It created an organization around the world so it would never happen again. But, that's artists, and I think that's the beauty of art, is that we have controversial stuff like this, and some people are going to think it's beautiful and important. Others are going to say, holy crap, why would you do that? And, yeah, I had to be very careful with some of the footage I was showing there, too, because it's the Holocaust, and, it's Lego Holocaust, though. So I'm like, can I talk about that? And, thank you again to the people for supplying this footage from that group there on YouTube, because, yeah, they're covering some very heavy stuff, looking over where they are there. Yeah, but I can look at this and shudder, and everything I looked back and learnt in my human rights courses in university when I learnt more about the Holocaust. So I can't see this Lego footage and not shudder. I actually had a really tough time talking about this one. Probably, to me, the most controversial thing I have ever talked about, because I was struggling all the way through this. I think I had about 20 to 25 minutes worth of actual filming footage because I kept stumbling and struggling and knowing, am I talking about this right, and am I talking about it with respect and care? You can even see from my body language I'm covering up like this because I feel so uncomfortable talking about it. But I feel I did it respectfully, and, I wanted to at least mention it because there's no harm in, talking about it respectfully. To me, I think everything should be able to be talked about. Hats off to my team on the footage on this one. It just did such a good job of making it vibrant and colorful and beautiful. But I'm so happy for the response to that one and people taking an interest in it. And I'm definitely going to be doing more Lego videos in the future. It's so nice to be back doing another commentary. If you have anything else you'd like me to do a commentary on, let me know in the comments. It's a pleasure to be back. I hope you're having an okay 2021, and I'll talk to you soon.